I've got oxandrolone in my hands and I'm not taking it. Actually, instead of my previous protocol of 112 milligrams of testosterone enanthate per week split up into daily shallow intramuscular injections, as well as 500 IU of HCG every third or fourth day, depending on erectile quality and libido. Even though on that protocol, I was a lot less anabolic than on higher doses of testosterone. And even though anabolism is an attractive thing, it kind of feels good to look saucy and to feel strong in the gym. Rather than working on anabolism as the primary objective for the HRT plus protocol, but while still working on anabolism to an extent, right, with some ancillary compounds, which I'll get into, I've decided to focus my HRT plus protocol, my new protocol, disproportionately on dihydrotestosterone. So in this video, I'm going to break down the doses of my new HRT plus protocol, pre-protocol liver panels, as well as pre-protocol lipid panels. In addition to that, we'll break down the logic of this new protocol, how I feel on it already, and how I felt on my previous protocol. So get ready, boys, because what we're going to do in this video is break down from a scientific viewpoint, as well as from a goal targeting perspective, full-on HRT plus cycle design. All right, before we start the video, I've got the deal of deals for you guys. I got the tap on the shoulder. We've got to move some Cortex. So here's the bottom line. My loss right now is your gain. It's buy one, get one free. You add a bottle to your cart, you punch in the code cortexbogo, and you will literally get a bottle for free of the Cortex stack per what you buy. Coaching, one slot just freed up. So I've got 3 slots on the 3-month, the 6-month, or the 1-year one-on-one hands-on coaching program with me, where we work on testosterone, TRT, hormone optimization, otherwise sexual dysfunction, erectile enhancement, nootropics, dopamine restoration, a host of other things. And you can hire me in under a minute at livecortex.com. Okay, so I had my second run of testosterone enanthate as a testosterone ester, and it was fine. I was at 112 milligrams a week, 500 IU HCG every third or fourth day, which really depended on where erectile function and libido was. Again, HCG being estrogenic in that it upregulates aromatase activity in the testicles can take people's estradiol past the range where the sexual system works and just generally past their sweet spot. I was injecting every day, shallow intramuscular in the ventral glutes and alternatively rarely in the delts. And I felt fine. You know, sexual function was pretty good because estradiol was in a reasonable range. I didn't test this, but I feel like I had adequate levels of DHT. The one thing about that protocol is I was a lot less anabolic than I've been on like higher doses. I just generally look less saucy. It was great for the sexual system. It's very mildly anabolic. 112 milligrams testosterone enanthate a week is not a lot of testosterone. To focus the attention much more on dihydrotestosterone and the ensuing masculinizing, sexual enhancing, as well as muscle retention and mildly anabolic effects from dihydrotestosterone, my new protocol is the following. 2 pumps of testosterone cream. Okay, this is a 200 milligrams per milliliter toppy click container of testosterone cream. 2 clicks of this is 100 milligrams for the record. 100 milligrams of testosterone cream per day in the morning, extra scrotally. Second part of the protocol is 25 milligrams of mysterolone or proviron every day in the morning. Thirdly, and this hasn't arrived at my place yet, but I'm going to be running at the moment that it does, is daily, likely twice daily injections of kisspeptin. Okay, kisspeptin is a pretty important peptide that regulates GnRH neurons, as well as on testosterone adds an additional beneficial key to HRT or HRT plus protocols, or even just TRT, which is the reconnection of the HPG axis, right? If you're just running HCG alone, the brain side, the GnRH neurons, as well as obviously pulsatile luteinizing hormone release does not happen, right? It's essentially downregulated. And interestingly, looking further into kisspeptin itself, it has a lot of implications and a lot of sort of downstream influential effects on the male sexual system and brain physiology. So removing the HCG and giving kisspeptin a run. Leslie, this is an anastrozole. These are compounded 0.125 milligram tablets. I always talk about this, so I'll actually show you guys what they look like. These are the 0.125 milligram Empower compounded anastrozole tablets. These are absolutely clutch. And the way that I will use those in this protocol as needed, if erectile function and libido go awry or slightly awry, which is always the indication for me that estradiol is going past a certain range, then it'll be 0.03 milligrams of anastrozole, which for me being an over responder to anastrozole is a perfect dose. And that's probably going to be every other day, maybe every third day. Again, it really sort of all depends. In some cases, into your T protocols, you've got to kind of, rather than running labs every 3 fucking days and it taking a week in some cases for estradiol sensitive to come back, you kind of have to go by how you feel, but be seasoned enough to make the right choices in that context. All right, so it is now, I think Tuesday, or when was it? Wednesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. No, what day is it? It's Thursday. All right, so it is now Thursday, and I've been running this protocol since Saturday morning. All right, so every day I'm pumping and applying 2 pumps of testosterone cream extra scrotally in the morning, running an entire 25 milligrams of Testosterone or Proviron, which is methylated DHT basically. I'm running 500 micrograms of TB500 twice a week. It's basically Monday and Thursday for a total of 1 milligram a week. And as I go into the protocol like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to analyze where anabolism is. And despite what many people think or will tell you on the web, DHT actually is anabolic. No, it's mildly anabolic. However, what you're going to recognize is that if you've built a good degree of muscle on a cycle, on a higher dose TRT protocol, and then you drop the dose by 30 to 50 milligrams, but you're also taking Proviron or enhancing DHT very markedly, that you're not going to lose a substantial amount of those gains. Whereas you will lose a good degree of that saucy look if you don't have extra DHT in the mix as you're, titrating downward in dose. That's just something that I've learned over time. But after we determine where anabolism is after week 3, maybe week 4 or so, I've got some ipamorelin here, which I will run if need be, if I feel like anabolism really is suffering to some degree. I don't believe it will, because testosterone cream peaks testosterone levels very, very high within 2 to 3 hours after administration. The DHT peak in testosterone cream per this study here is an average of 5.9 to 6 hours or so, after which you go super physiologic in DHT. Just some numbers to break down here. Since I'm running 2 clicks of this, which is 100 milligrams, the highest dose on the study, which is titled The Pharmacokinetics of Testosterone Cream Applied to the Scrotum, something to this effect. On the highest dose, which was, I believe, 50 milligrams in this study, it looks like total testosterone peaks at about 750. You have this surge just at the end there at right around 800, and then it starts to drop thereafter. So considering I'm running double the dose of that, it's plausible that my total testosterone in terms of peak the day of application, a few hours later, will be well into the thousands, maybe 1200, 1300, who knows, it could even be 1500. I will get around to testing that. Again, with superphysiologic peaks of testosterone are going to come usually superphysiologic peaks of estradiol, although with testosterone cream, there's seemingly a little bit less of a peak of estradiol and ultimately less estradiol that sticks around. And you've got DHT, which antagonizes estradiol at the genetic level. So it shouldn't be that troublesome. However, again, 0.03 milligrams, which is the sweet spot dose for me being an over responder to anastrozole, I'll have that on deck if I need it, if the sexual function starts kind of, trickling downward. How do I feel so far? Okay, so last time I ran Proviron, I ran 25 milligrams a day. It was about 2 weeks or so of consistent use. I was running too high of a TRT protocol at the time, so it overstimulated me. I started getting head pressure. I just felt like I drank entirely too many coffees. However, one of the interesting things that I noted last time I ran Proviron is an enhanced feeling of that masculine feeling that TRT typically tends to bring to the picture, both via testosterone, but importantly and more disproportionately via dihydrotestosterone. On Proviron last time, I felt markedly more masculine, calm, sort of stoic. It was a bizarre state. It felt really fucking good though. And of course, this sexual system was the best it's ever been on HRT, TRT, HRT plus protocols ever. But it was overstimulating. Now that I've got still what ultimately will be a pretty big peak in serum testosterone levels, it's not going to stick around. I was actually running a long ester at the time, which, you've got super physiologic levels of testosterone pretty much all the time. In this case, I'll have a peak and then I'll have a trough, which I thoroughly enjoy, which is why I like prop and I like cream. As predicted, like on 5 days or what is it? Yeah, 5 days or so of running this protocol, the sexual function's already ridiculous. I mean, I'm talking about like looking through my phone at women that I have decided not to continue dating and trying to rekindle interactions with them to ultimately facilitate sexy time. It's honestly pretty crazy, boys. All right, so before running what is ultimately, considering I've got 25 milligrams of Proviron, a steroid cycle, but not a hugely anabolic steroid cycle, it's responsible to get your labs, specifically lipids and specifically liver enzymes. Now, Proviron or Testosterone is not liver toxic. I'm running a maintenance dose of TUDCA every morning, just in case, right? Just to optimize liver function and detox pathways. And so you kind of want to see. So the only real issue with my blood work as it stands is LDL is at 104. Now that is not terrible if you've looked at blood work. I'm 4 points over ultimately. I might as well be in range. HDL is in a pretty good range, a little on the low side. We'll see how that goes. If I have to bring in some ancillary compounds to help in that dynamic, then I definitely will. Glucose in a great place at 84. EGFR, this is a pretty critical one if you're going to be taking oral steroids at any capacity, because you want to be doing everything you can otherwise, or just make sure that your kidneys are working at optimal rates. So with a filtration rate of 101, it's safe safe to say the kidneys are in a great place. All right, so let's look at some other things, some hematological markers, as well as some liver enzymes. So bilirubin's in a great place. AST is in a great place, substantially great place. You would consider that basically on the low end. ALT, a little elevated compared to where I like it to be, but still within range and kind of on the low end. And alkaline phosphatase is essentially, you know, in the middle of the range or kind of on the low end of the range. This is where I like liver enzymes, boys. I've been taking Tutka lately, so that's almost definitely helping to keep liver values in a sweet spot for me. And after, again, 3 or 4 weeks of running Proviron specifically with this protocol, I'm going to rerun liver enzymes. I don't anticipate there being a market change, but again, this is the kind of responsible stuff that you should be monitoring. Hematological pathways, all right? Hemoglobin is at 16.3, so well within the reference range. Hematocrit right now is sitting at 48. I had done a phlebotomy 3 or so months ago. It was at 51 and I was having some negative symptoms. So right now, hematocrit is honestly in a perfect sweet spot for me. I don't anticipate that changing all that much. In the medical literature, Proviron or Stoic, though will still raise hematocrit, is more forgiving on hematological parameters than other anabolic steroids. All right, so I think that that's going to stay in a reasonable sweet spot moving forward, but again, we will check. And then just for shits and giggles, I got prolactin. Now, DHT is somewhat antagonistic of prolactin. In the medical literature, there's a few mechanisms by which DHT will keep prolactin in a reasonable range. In addition, though, I also have kisspeptin coming in, and that modulates prolactin, usually in a positive way, as evidenced by studies that show in people with hyperprolactinemia, kisspeptin is an agent that is used to restore gonadal function. Now, I had like extremely low prolactin after a 9 MEBC cycle. I routinely take Chisandra, so I've experienced what it's like to have very low prolactin. 12 is usually where I fall if there's not a whole lot of hefty drugs like cabergoline, or again, a hardcore dopamine agent like 9-methyl-beta-carbolane or 9 MEBC. Usually falls between the 10 and 13 or so nanograms per milliliter range, which is fine. I would say the only downfall to having 12 prolactin, which is still good and in range, versus having like 2 prolactin, which I had recently, is that refractory period is just longer. And that's fine. I don't need to be doing multiple sessions like within a half an hour. You know, like after an hour, I'm ready to go at 12 prolactin. All right, so again, at 3 or 4 weeks of running this protocol, I'm going to run all of these parameters again. I'm also going to be running DHT because Stoic will influence serum DHT levels. I'm going to ultimately run total testosterone on the peak, which is about 3 hours after morning administration, to get an accurate reading of where my total T is going. If there's any degree of shedding, I'll probably stick with it because I've got great hair genes historically. But, you know, at that time, I might want to increase the dose of TB500 or add something like 500 to 800 milligrams every other day of flush niacin, which facilitates blood flow to the scalp. If there's degrees of hair loss that are very substantial, I may consider photobiomodulation at that point, or some other well-known strategies, but not the inhibition of 5-alpha reductase. So how do I feel? So far, fucking great. Energized, more energized, by the way, than the 112 milligrams of testosterone a day per week, which is to be expected. I'm peaking higher on total testosterone, and I'm peaking in a more rapid manner. I got to tell you, I actually start to notice the energy 10, 15 minutes after application extrascrotally of the cream in the morning. And then when I go to the gym, I'm an absolute beast. I feel very fucking good. The entirety of the morning, I feel incredible. Because of the fact that this is a disproportionately DHT-centric HRT plus protocol, I feel more masculine. The sexual function, the sexual system is already substantially better than it was on just N-theta and HCG. I have more physical energy throughout the day, perhaps a little more assertive generally. Again, DHT should not be underrated, right? It is a powerfully masculinizing hormone that kind of turns you into a fucking productive, stone cold stoic. All right, so that's the protocol. DHT centered HRT plus protocol starting last Saturday. I will continue to keep you guys posted. And when I run labs on the hematological, the lipid and the liver values, I'll do another breakdown of, like, you know, after a month on Proviron and testosterone cream, you know, where everything is at. Again, if you have not watched the post-finasteride syndrome documentary that was released early this week, have a watch. It's very compelling. There is a deep, deep dive into the scientific literature of the inhibition of 5-alpha reductase and the deleterious effects both on the sexual system as well as the mental health system that has. And toward the end, we do some emphasis on the people that are out there denying PFS and effectively gaslighting, you know, these tens of thousands of men that are having these continued issues. So please watch that documentary. I'll even link it down in the description of this video. All right, again, guys, Cortex stack, buy one, get one free. This is a fast onsetting stimulant. So like in the morning, if you're lacking energy, or at any time throughout the day if you're lacking energy, just take 2 capsules of Cortex, and within 20-30 minutes it's going to change. For a lot of people, in 15 minutes, specifically because there's dynamine and teocrine in there, both of which onset quickly, but dynamine onsets very, very quickly. It is the most powerful stimulant in terms of onset time that you can get your hands on. Buy one, get one free. Code for that right now is cortexbogo. You enter it at checkout. Coaching, I've got 3 slots open: TRT, hormone optimization, sexual function, sexual dysfunction, erectile optimization and restoration, dopamine restoration, host of other topics, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year programs, one-on-one hands-on with me. You can hire me in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. I hope you're having a great week. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Much more content coming soon. Live stream this weekend, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern time in the morning. So look forward to that. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you on the next one.